In the beginning, before the Olympian gods ruled the heavens, there existed a powerful age of Titans. This was an era where mighty beings shaped the sky, the earth, and the endless seas. At the heart of this age stood Cronus, the great Titan, whose reign was filled with pride and fear. Cronus held his throne with iron resolve, yet within him lived the shadow of a haunting prophecy. It foretold that one day a child of his own blood would rise to end his rule. Afraid of losing power, Cronus sought to stop fate, guarding his reign with relentless caution and doubt. But destiny cannot be silenced, for it flows onward no matter how fiercely it is resisted. And from this struggle, a new story began woven with secrecy, courage, and the promise of hope. Among Cronus and Rhea's children, one would be hidden far from his father's watchful and fearful eyes. That child was Zeus, the youngest, who grew in silence, destined to change the world forever. Long before the Olympian gods ruled the heavens, there was another order, an age of Titans. The Titans were colossal beings, their presence shaping the sky above, the seas below, and the solid earth. Mortals could not imagine their greatness. Yet, the Titans' power echoed in storms, mountains, and restless waves. At the heart of this age stood Cronus, a mighty Titan whose reign inspired both awe and unease. Cronus was not born to rule. He claimed power through daring, ambition, and a relentless hunger for control. He rose above his father and built a new world where the Titans commanded creation's very fabric. To many, Cronus symbolized permanence and strength, his throne towering as though it could never fall. Yet beneath his grandeur lived a shadow he could not erase, a fear that never left him. It was not fear of rivals or battles, but of a prophecy whispered by earth and oracles. The prophecy foretold that one of Cronus's children would rise to end his mighty reign forever. This thought haunted him, clouding every victory, dimming every celebration, and darkening his vision of the future. Cronus became a ruler of suspicion, guarded in every choice, fearful of destiny's invisible approach. Around him, the world of Titans thrived, with rivers carving valleys and mountains reaching toward the heavens. Yet unease lingered within his home, for the children of Cronus and Rhea lived under his shadow. Rhea longed for harmony, a family filled with laughter. Yet Cronus's fear weighed upon their lives. In myths, power without trust always breeds downfall, and Cronus trusted no one, not even his own. The prophecy was a shadow cast, not only over Cronus, but over his family and their future. For prophecy is not mere prediction, it is destiny, woven into the fabric of time itself. And though Cronus clung tightly to power, fate already stirred, quietly shaping the path of tomorrow. The world itself seemed to wait for the child who would bring change and balance at last. The skies, the earth, and even the stars knew the age of Titans would not last forever. Our story begins here in a world of grandeur, yet fragile with fear and whispers of destiny. Cronus did not know which child would rise or how the prophecy would one day unfold. But already, the story of Zeus, the child of secrecy and hope, was beginning to take root. Cronus, the mighty Titan, stood tall in an age of power, yet haunted by whispers of change. His reign, vast and commanding, carried within it the seeds of its own ending, unseen but certain, for no throne, no matter how strong, can silence destiny when its moment has come. In the shadow of Cronus's throne stood Rhea, his queen, a goddess of wisdom and compassion. Cronus ruled with fear, but Rhea's heart longed for love, harmony, and the laughter of children. Each birth brought her joy, yet sorrow soon followed, for Cronus's fear poisoned their family's life. The prophecy haunted him. and he saw his children not as blessings, but as looming threats. Rhea's arms were empty, her love endless, but her home was silent and filled with grief. Then hope returned. She was to bear another child, one she knew carried promise for change. In her heart, Rhea resolved this child would not suffer the fate of those before him. She sought counsel from Gaia, the earth, who whispered to her the seed of a plan. The path would not be easy, but through secrecy and cunning, her child could be saved. Far from Cronus's watchful eyes, she brought her son into the world in hidden silence. The moment she held him, she knew greatness lived within him, and she named him Zeus. She carried him to a cave in Crete, where nymphs and spirits would guard his life. They nourished him with Amalthea's milk, lulled him with songs, and shielded his cries with rhythm. Meanwhile, Rhea returned to Cronus, but she carried a stone wrapped in swaddling cloth. Blinded by fear, Cronus accepted the deception, never realizing his true child had been spared. For now, Zeus was safe, hidden, and growing in strength, while Cronus believed destiny was defeated. Though deception weighed on her heart, Rhea knew her choice was the only way forward. In that cave, nurtured by love and guardianship, Zeus grew beyond the shadow of his father. It was not armies or Titan's power that saved him, but a mother's courage and resolve. Cronus still sat on his throne, but destiny was moving beyond his reach, quietly, inevitably. And while Rhea's secret remained hidden, Zeus grew stronger, preparing for the day of truth. This was Rhea's plan, an act of love, shaping the child who would change the world forever. Far away from Cronus's throne, hidden deep in the rugged mountains of Crete, a child grew in secret. This child was Zeus, unknown to the world above. Yet every breath carried the weight of destiny. While the halls of the Titans echoed with Cronus's power, a quiet cave echoed with laughter and song. The nymphs and mountain spirits cared for him with devotion, shielding him from harm and from fear. Amalthea, the gentle goat, nourished him with divine milk, a symbol of nurture and protection. To hide his cries, the Curetes clashed their shields in rhythmic dance, masking his voice from Cronus. The cave was no palace, yet it was alive with streams, flowers, birds, and the hum of nature. It seemed as though the earth itself cradled Zeus, knowing the child was destined for greatness. Zeus grew curious and bold, filled with wonder that secrecy could not restrain or silence. The nymphs told him stories of Titans, the vast seas, and the stars above. From Gaia, he learned patience, wisdom, and the balance of strength and harmony with the world. The winds taught resilience, rivers taught persistence, and stars taught him to dream of more. Though far from his family, Zeus felt the bond of his siblings stirring deep in his heart. He longed for them, though he had never seen their faces or heard their voices. The nymphs whispered hope. "You are the child of promise, destined to bring balance and change." Their words gave him comfort and a sense of purpose that grew with every passing season. Zeus's body grew strong, his mind sharp, and his heart filled with laughter and joy. He climbed cliffs, ran with the winds, and played with creatures of forest and sky. But beneath his joy lived determination, a longing to free his unseen brothers and sisters. He gazed often at the sky, dreaming of the day he could stand beside them. His childhood in secrecy gave him patience, compassion, and the courage to face destiny. The boy in the cave was no ordinary child, but a promise shaped by love and hope. The world itself seemed to wait, anticipating the day when Zeus would step from shadows into light. As years passed, the boy in the cave grew into a young god, filled with strength and wisdom. Zeus's laughter rang through the mountains, his voice echoing like a promise of change across Crete. Yet deep inside, questions stirred in him, questions of who he truly was and why he hid. He gazed at the stars, wondering what fate had written for him in their endless shining light. The nymphs loved him dearly, but their eyes revealed secrets they could never fully hide away. Gaia whispered in dreams, her voice like the rustle of forests, carrying truths beyond mortal reach. One night under moonlight, Gaia came clear and told him truths that would shape his destiny. "You are Cronus's child," she said softly, "and he fears you because of a prophecy." Her words struck deep, yet Zeus listened calmly, his spirit steady under the weight of destiny. She revealed how Cronus's fear had denied his children freedom, casting them into silent shadows. Zeus learned of siblings he had never met, yet felt within his heart like missing songs. His joy gave way to resolve, determination burning brighter than the silence of his cave. Gaia's voice was steady. "You will bring balance, light where fear has ruled in darkness." Zeus bowed, not with doubt, but with reverence for the great task that lay before him. Young though he was, destiny now rested on him, like a mantle he could not cast off. The winds and rivers whispered, urging him onward, as if nature itself awaited his rising. The nymph saw change in his eyes, sharper now, carrying quiet fire no cave could contain. He was no longer only the child they raised. He was a leader forming through fate. Still, compassion guided him, for he carried not just strength, but the hope of renewal. One evening, Amalthea nuzzled him softly, as if she too sensed his path was near. The Curetes danced louder, their shields clashing like thunder, celebrating his awakening spirit within. The mountains trembled in anticipation, the earth itself holding breath for the storm of destiny. Zeus trained in body through climbing, running, and leaping. Yet in heart he learned patience. Nature taught him balance, strength with wisdom, courage with mercy, resolve with compassion everlasting. The nymphs reminded him gently, "Greatness is not ruling, but guiding, protecting, and restoring harmony." He treasured their words, knowing he could not face destiny through force alone, but with heart. Strength must be tempered with restraint, for true power is to lift others, not to break. As he grew, he dreamed of a world where fear ended and joy returned again. He imagined his siblings free, their laughter echoing, their mother's sorrow replaced with harmony. On the cliffs, winds embraced him, and the stars above seemed to blaze with approval. He whispered to the night, "I will not hide. My time will come. I will act." Though alone, his words rolled like thunder, as if the sky itself heard his vow. The cave that once sheltered him now felt small, his spirit yearning to rise beyond it. No longer a hidden child, Zeus had discovered his destiny and embraced the path ahead. The world awaited his steps, and soon he would emerge to change it forever. As Zeus grew stronger, the cave that once sheltered him began to feel smaller, no longer enough. The nymphs cared for him. The Curetes danced. Amalthea stayed near. But destiny whispered louder. He had learned of Cronus and his siblings, lost in shadow, waiting for freedom's light to come. His heart ached for them, yet he knew he could not step into fate without guidance. And so, Zeus sought counsel, for even courage needs wisdom to shape it into true strength. Among the divine was Metis, goddess of clever thought, quiet strategy, and patient understanding. By a silver river, Zeus found her, the waters sparkling like morning sun on flowing glass. Metis welcomed him, knowing his name, the burden he carried, and the destiny he would face. "You are brave," she said, "but bravery without wisdom is like a ship sailing without a compass." Zeus listened, every word filling him with the guidance he had long hungered to receive. Metis explained Cronus's true strength was not only power, but suspicion, fear, and restless doubt. To defeat him, she said, you must be patient, cunning, and strike with quiet surprise. Her words cut clear as riverlight, shaping Zeus's resolve with balance between force and restraint. She revealed Cronus carried within him the sibling Zeus longed to free, hidden in his fear. Yet Cronus did not see that destiny already moved beyond him. Quiet, inevitable, unstoppable. Metis counseled Zeus in secret, guiding him with wisdom sharper than any weapon of war. You must not rush, she warned. Every cycle turns, and in time, your moment will come. Zeus understood he was not yet ready, but the path before him was unfolding steadily. She taught him to listen to the earth, hear silence between words, see truths unseen. Her lessons wove into him, adding wisdom to the strength he had gained from Gaia's care. Where once he thought only of courage, he now saw the power of patience and thought. For days they spoke by the river, sunlight shifting, shadows stretching across the flowing waters. Each word shaped him, turning the boy in the cave into a god of steady resolve. Metis did not promise victory, only that patience and preparation would guide him to it. At twilight, she touched his shoulder, saying, "You carry the hope of your family and world." Zeus bowed, humbled, but strengthened by the truth and trust she placed gently upon him. He returned to Crete, transformed, his spirit steadier than mountains rising against the endless sky. The cave was no longer small, but a sanctuary of growth, a place of becoming. Even in hiding, his mind stretched outward, preparing for the reckoning his heart knew would come. For now, he waited, no longer a child, but a leader, forming through wisdom and courage. The world stirred in quiet anticipation, as if it sensed change waiting just beyond the horizon. At night, Zeus whispered the words Metis gave him. Wisdom is the path, courage the flame, and together, he said softly, they will light the way forward, guiding me into destiny. The years passed, and Zeus grew into the fullness of his power. No longer a hidden child of prophecy, but a god whose presence stirred both earth and sky. His heart carried not only the weight of secrecy, but also the responsibility of destiny. And he knew that no victory would be won by standing alone. Cronus ruled with a heavy hand, suspicion clouding his judgment. Yet his strength was undeniable, and Zeus could not face him without true allies. He returned first to the cave of Crete, where nymphs, Curetes, and faithful Amalthea welcomed him with joy and pledged devotion to his cause. Metis's words echoed within him. Strength is born not from solitude, but from unity. And so Zeus traveled far to gather those who might stand with him. In Arcadia's deep forests he found Pan, the wild spirit of nature, whose laughter danced like music and whose bond with the earth was unshakable. Pan promised to aid him, to stir the rhythms of nature itself when the time of reckoning with Cronus finally arrived. Further still, Zeus sought the Cyclopes. Once imprisoned by Cronus, their great strength feared, and with courage he released them from their chains. Grateful, the Cyclopes swore loyalty and forged thunder and lightning, gifts of power that would one day mark Zeus as master of the skies. Next, Zeus freed the Hecatoncheires, the hundred-handed ones. Strange and mighty, their vast force hidden away by Cronus's fear and mistrust. They, too, pledged to him, their strength a force of nature waiting to be called upon when the world turned toward its destined change. Each ally added to Zeus's resolve, transforming him from a child in hiding into a leader whose bonds were forged by loyalty and compassion. But he never forgot the siblings trapped within Cronus: Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon, lost yet not broken, their voices echoing faintly in his heart. At night he whispered their names to the stars, promising freedom and vowing that their time of light and renewal was drawing ever closer. Metis appeared once again, reminding him that patience and wisdom must still guide his steps before the hour of confrontation truly arrived. "You have allies now," she said softly, "but strength must be guided by plan, not only by fire and will." Her counsel wove together the bonds Zeus had formed, turning power into purpose, and allies into a circle destined to change the world. The nymphs, Curetes, Amalthea, Pan, Cyclopes, and Hecatoncheires all stood as roots of a new age waiting to rise into light. At night, Zeus gazed at the constellations, feeling their quiet whisper that change was near. Though the hour had not yet struck, he sensed his siblings inside Cronus, faint but unbroken, their spirits urging him to hold fast and prepare for the moment of release. "Hold on," he whispered. "Your freedom is coming. The prophecy lives in me, and our time will soon arrive." The stage was setting itself, piece by piece, every ally, every bond, and every lesson shaping Zeus into the leader destiny required. The boy who had once hidden in shadows was gone, replaced by a god whose courage and wisdom guided him toward a new dawn. The age of Cronus was fading, though he did not yet see it, for destiny moved quietly, unstoppable, waiting just beyond the horizon. The time had come when Zeus could no longer hide, for strength and allies were now gathered beside him. Yet his siblings remained trapped within Cronus, and no weapon of force could set them free. Metis appeared once more, calm as flowing water, her wisdom shining like quiet fire in the night. She told Zeus that Cronus's strength was real, but his fear blinded him, leaving hidden paths open. "The way forward lies not in battle's roar," she said, "but in cunning and careful deception." Zeus asked how to free what was swallowed, and Metis revealed the secret of a divine potion. She gathered herbs beneath moonlight, roots of memory, leaves of renewal, and water shimmering with truth. Her hands moved with patience, crafting a potion that would unbind the chains within Cronus's heart. "This will not defeat him," she warned, "but it will release your siblings, and they will rise." Zeus held the flask, light in weight yet heavier than thunder, carrying the fate of the future. The plan grew clear, not open war, but quiet approach, wearing the mask of loyalty and service. He would disguise himself, not as foe, but as one willing to stand before Cronus in obedience. The thought chilled him, for this was the father who swallowed children, whose reign was born of fear. Yet to save those he loved, Zeus would hide his truth, courage burning within like a steady flame. He prepared with silent prayers to Gaia, thanking her for years of care and quiet protection. He received blessings from nymphs, Curetes, and Amalthea, each sending strength for the perilous path ahead. The Cyclopes and Hecatoncheires pledged readiness, their strength held in reserve for the battles to come. But this step belonged to Zeus alone, and he carried its burden with courage and silent resolve. At night, he lifted his eyes to the stars, whispering the names of his siblings with love. "Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, Poseidon," he said softly. "Hold on. Your freedom is drawing near." The stars seemed to glow brighter, as though the heavens themselves bore witness to his vow. Clutching the flask, Zeus felt destiny humming within, guiding him toward the moment of truth. Cronus knew nothing of what approached, but the world trembled at the turning of unseen tides. For Zeus would soon walk into his father's presence, no longer child in hiding, but God reborn. The meeting would shape not only the fate of his siblings, but the course of the cosmos. The struggle with Cronus had ended, Yet the story of Zeus and his siblings was far from complete. Though Cronus's reign was broken, the world did not change in an instant, but required rebuilding. Zeus, now leader of the gods, turned to his siblings, who had waited in darkness for freedom. Together, they could shape a brighter age, where heavens, seas, and earth lived in balance. The Titans' defeat left shadows behind, their power vast, and their memory woven into the land. The Olympians needed to prove they were not only stronger, but wiser and more just. With thunder in his voice, Zeus declared this new age would not mirror Cronus's fear. Each god would hold a place of honor, each domain cared for with fairness and respect. Poseidon, brother of steadfast spirit, received dominion over the seas and their mysteries. Hades, who endured long years of patience, was entrusted with the unseen world below. Hera, proud and wise, stood beside Zeus as queen, guarding marriage, family, and sacred bonds. Demeter, gentle and nurturing, was given fertile soil to bring harvest and sustain life. Hestia, steady and kind, tended the hearth, her flame burning with warmth and unity. Thus, the Olympians claimed their roles, not as tyrants, but as guardians of creation's order. Mount Olympus became their dwelling, high above earth, filled with counsel and laughter. Zeus knew harmony was fragile, requiring protection and renewal with each new sunrise. He vowed their reign would rest not on fear, but on balance and shared purpose. The world below answered, seas roared, earth blossomed, and mortals felt hope instead of dread. Mortals prayed with songs and offerings, not in terror, but in trust of the Olympians. The Titans faded into myth, their power whispering faintly through storms and distant caves. For Zeus, victory was not pride, but purpose and oath to guide a just new age. With siblings beside him, he saw not an end, but a dawn filled with promise. So began the age of Olympians, an age of thunder, harvest, flame, and eternal stories.